Hey guys, so last time I made a Let's Design Together video, you guys said you wanted to see more of the design process. So I've decided to make a video with the design, assembly, stickering, and the review of the final puzzle, everything from A to Z. So the puzzle I chose is the Floppy Kilominx. Let's go! So last time I made a video like this, someone said that I should have designed it and showed the design process of the puzzle. So that was Mateus Torres. So I thought that was a good idea, and there was a comment that I really enjoyed, and it was, please make a floppy Kilominx. So there were a lot of comments where I really liked the ideas, and some of them I'm thinking about making them later on, but for me this was the idea I wanted to retain. So that's what I'm going to design right now. So I'm going to try to speed design it because I got some friends coming over. I've got about 20 minutes, so this is going to be very challenging. But I like a challenge, so that's what I'm going to try to do. So first, I make a pentagon. Let's choose a 45mm edge length, and now extrude it to give the final shape. So that would be 45 divided by 4. That way, wait, it's a floppy, yeah, okay. And it's a floppy Kilominx, so that means that there are going to be 2 cubies on each face, which is why it's 45 divided by 4. That way each cubie is a square cube. Okay, so now I want to go on the face, and my cut is going to go straight through the edge. Now I'm going to move it slightly to that side. Wait, you know what? No, I'm going to make it go straight through the edge so that you can see why I would do something like that. Now I'm going to move this plane in the other direction. That way it intersects with that line, and I'm going to draw a circle. Now, you'll see why I'm doing this. It's because I want to be able to cut the face and make it look like the cuts aren't possible, just like on a Kilominx. So, what I do is a surface sweep, and I take this profile and move it around this circle. So if I want the cuts to look like this, then I need to do this. So, basically, this is what the surface looks like. So as you can see, it's not a very usual surface. So that's why I did this. So now that that's done, I'm going to show you how to carry on with the process of designing a puzzle. So I just created an axis using these 2 planes of symmetry. That's the axis that goes straight through the center of the puzzle. And I'm going to repeat this surface right here 5 times around it, 72 degrees because it's a pentagonal prism. Alright, 5 repetitions. Okay, now as you can see here, the 2 surfaces, because of those straight cuts that I want to make, here it's going to show a bit of the mechanism. Let me see if I can simulate that for you. I'm gonna cut the puzzle open with my cutting tool. I'm gonna cut it with all those surfaces right there. Sorry if SolidWorks is in French on my computer, that's just how I installed it. For some reason, I don't even know why I installed it in French, but whatever. So now I'm going to cut the whole puzzle with those surfaces, and it doesn't seem like it. Oh, I'm an idiot. I didn't even design the mechanism. Of course it's not going to work. Sorry about that. Okay, next step is to design the mechanism, of course. I'm just trying to go really fast, but I can't go that fast either. Alright, so now I wanna basically choose a plane that goes straight through that surface. So I'm going to do the sketch on this surface, and I'm going to actually extract the intersection of that surface with my plane. And as you can see, now if I hide the surface and go back in my sketch, you can see that this is the curve that we're looking for the mechanism. So now that I've got this figured out, and that's the hard part, I can start designing the mechanism. So I'm going to do concentric circles. This is going to be the spherical mechanism on the inside. And I'm going to, sorry, I went out of the sketch. I'm going to, well, put a distance of 1.5 millimeters between each of those because it's a tiny puzzle, so I don't really need more than 1.5 mil. Alright. And now I'm going to use these circles as construction entities. So now that that's done, I can start cutting inside the mechanism. So this is the outside of the mechanism. So I'm going to go on the inside, which is that way. this is going to be the axis of rotation. So basically, the face that's going to turn when I do this is this face here. Alright, back here. Now this is for construction. This is just the rotational axis. So I'm drawing my mechanism. So I've explained that in the How to Design Twisty Puzzles video, but I'm basically just making the mechanism, which is the hook of the parts right here, and moving back to the center. Now here's where a tool made by Brandon Enright comes in handy. I've got a Twisty Puzzle renderer, so I choose a base shape as a sphere and use the cuts of a pentagonal prism right there. And let's say 65 degrees from the center. Let's simulate that, see how it is. Okay, so that seems like a good floppy pentagonal prism, so that's perfect. So we'll use 65 degrees for the mechanism part of it. Let's see if I can take SolidWorks out again. Alright, so between this and the axis of revolution, there's going to be 65 degrees. And then I want a hook that's sufficiently strong, but it's a mini puzzle, so I guess 2.5 millimeters should do it. Let's just say 2.2 because I don't really need more, and I think this puzzle's mechanism is going to be very small. So I'd rather make it sturdier and put less thickness, because the more I put, the more stable it's going to be, but the smaller the hook on the corner is going to be. And, well, corners with small feet can break. So now that I've done the sketch, I'm going to do a surface revolution, and that's going to be the surface that corresponds to the mechanism. Now that that's done, I can repeat it 5 times, and now I can cut the puzzle using those 5 surfaces. So that's what I'm going to do. Alright, doesn't seem to be working that well. Let's see. I see, because it kept the original surface, and I didn't split it with the right surface. Alright, so let's see that again. Use the 5 faces, the 5 surfaces. Oh no, I know where the problem is. The surface that it copied was the original surface, and that's not the one that I wanted. This is the one I wanted, and the original one is deleted, so now I can finally do what I wanted to do. So I'm gonna cut the solid with the 5 surfaces, and here's the result. There are 16 parts, so I can check those boxes by hand. It's not going to be a problem, except here's the problem. Okay, give me a second. The problem is this. Here you see, actually, you can actually see the mechanism. I don't want that, or at least I want to minimize that aspect here because I don't like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the original sketch, and instead of making it go straight through the center, I'm going to put it slightly off center. Whoa, what's going on? So let's say first it was in the middle. Now what I want to do is I want to get it slightly away from the middle. So let's say instead of 2140, I'm going to put 21 millimeter distance. If I can grab that center and remove that tolerance. All right, here. I want to put it at 21, so here it's slightly off-center. So now that I've done this, as you can see, here there's a very small thing that will barely be visible in the final puzzle, and here it's going to be smaller as well. So you're less going to see the aspect that it's not a Kilominx. So I prefer this appearance. Now the only issue is that when you're working with this appearance, it's going to create a lot of extra parts. Oh, not that many actually, so perfect. Okay, so I'm going to remove, I'm going to accept the fractioning of these extra parts. And now, as you can see, this is a corner. So the hook here, the foot of the corner is sufficiently wide. So if I wanted, I could put it at 2.5 millimeters for the mechanism, as I said earlier. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to add stability. It's always a good thing to have stability, so 2.5, here we go. And here's the foot of the corner. It's still thick enough, so that's fine. Alright, as you can see, it's here. So now that that's done, I'm happy with the design, so I'm going to remove one corner, hide one center, and hide the core, and remove everything else. that way I have one copy of every unique piece. There we go. So I'm going to remove everything and show only those parts. Now let's prepare the corner for 3D printing. Now that's actually not that hard. Here I'm just going to put some fillets everywhere. You know what, I can even, yeah, I'm just going to put fillets first, it's fine. Okay, so I'm going to put fillets here, let's say 1 millimeter, that should do the trick. But that's going to be challenging because I've got a 0 thickness part right there. This is very interesting. I'm going to really enjoy designing this puzzle, but hopefully I'm not going to have to cut too much of the footage. Let me think. That's the only problem when you have 0 thickness stuff like that. It gets a bit more challenging to design. So first I'm gonna round the edges here, then round those edges off. Let's see if I can. This is probably gonna cause an error. Perfect, I can round those edges off. Okay, so this design is gonna work. So I'm gonna round them to 1 millimeter. That should be reasonable. Now I'm going to round these 2 edges off, and these 2 as well. And then I'm going to round this off and this off. As you can see, this causes the Floppy pattern. That's the natural occurring shape of the Kilominx, and that's why originally it was created like that. It's because it was easier. This is the shape that's caused by adding fillets. So that's quite fun to see this shape again here on this puzzle. So instead of using the fillets that I used earlier, I'm going to reduce them to the maximum. I'm going to put them at 0.2 or something. 0.3. 0.3 should be fine. So I'm going to use 0.3 millimeter fillets. That way it's almost not visible that this isn't a real Kilominx, but that should do the trick. So, same on the other side. So, I've got this fillet right there. I'm going to use the same on that side. As you can see, this is the shape of the corner. So now I'm just going to add fillets, add some more here. Again, this is the on the faces that actually show the appearance of the puzzle, the faces that actually change the appearance. I generally use 1 millimeter fillets for small sized puzzles, and that's what I'm going to do here. Okay, so now I can add fillets here, let's say 1.5 millimeters, no, it doesn't fit, to 1.2 millimeters. Here I'm going to add 1.5, this is for better corner cutting. I can even add 2 or 3 millimeters, 2 will do it. Now I'm going to add 0.7 here, 0.7 here. Alright, so this is the final part. And now I can shell the part that, this is probably not going to work, but, oh, I know why. I shelled it to 10 millimeters, that is obviously not going to work. Okay, so what I just did is empty the material inside the part. That generally, on some websites, it makes the part cheaper. And also, it reduces machine time because the powder stuck on the inside of the part is not sintered. So it makes it cheaper for the company to produce, even though it doesn't change anything on the final price of some websites. Now that this corner is done, I gotta do the center. Now, seeing as it's a 2-side center, it's not going to fall off, so instead of screwing all 5 centers into the core, which is a bit of a long process to design, I am going to screw the top center inside this core and the bottom center as well. So I'm going to do a 2-part core, well, a 3-part core instead of making, you know, like centers with screws, especially considering I don't have space for a screw right there. So I'm just going to need to add some tolerances first. Because I don't know if you've seen, but when the corner is assembled, I've got this part that is squeezed between this surface and this surface. So I need to add tolerances to the outer shell. Also, what I'm going to do in order to add tolerances is I'm going to thicken the outer shell as well. I'm going to make it 2 millimeters. That's going to change the design automatically, so there's no problem. As you can see, the corner is still finished. It's just slightly different here. It's thinner, but it's still quite thick. So that's going to be okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move all the faces towards the core by 0.5 millimeters. The faces of each part, there are 2 parts, so this is actually quite an easy puzzle to design. There are not too many unique parts, so it's going to be quite fast. Okay, that's strange though, it doesn't want to... Let's see. That is unusual. Let's see if I remove this part. The problem is that when I'm trying to move the faces inside the puzzle, well, basically add tolerances, it doesn't want to. And I don't understand why. This is quite strange. So what I'm going to try to do is actually remove some faces. Maybe that'll help. Okay, that isn't helping. Maybe this one. Okay, so I'm removing faces one by one. Okay, so now this is just a unique face. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Okay, hopefully that's going to work. Now if I try to move these 2 faces inwards, yep, it worked. Perfect. So now I'm going to move the last faces inwards because I also need to add tolerances on the core and leave a bit of room for movement for the parts. Now that that's done, I'm going to finish the center that I was working on earlier. So I'm going to add some fillets here. So 2 millimeter fillets to get some good corner cutting, or at least better turning, if corner cutting isn't a possibility. And now I'm adding fillets on the inside, on the smaller part, the inner layer, which is the mechanism part. And now I can add tolerances, but here, as you can see, there's an intersection of this edge here and this edge here. SolidWorks has a bit of trouble with those surfaces, with those edges generally, so I'm just going to move some faces by 0.001 or 0.01 millimeters inwards so that I don't have the problem. And now I'm going to fillet everything to 0.5 or 0.7. 0.7 is fine. And same on the outside, 0.7. And as you can see, there's 4 fillets left. This one, that one, and these 2 here. Alright, so now that I've done this, I only have the core left. Now I want to split those centers apart from the core, so I'm going to use this surface and try to fraction those centers off. It's not going to work. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use just any sketch, let's say any sketch plane, so let's say this one, and I'm going to draw a sketch, and it's going to be a half sphere going through the outside and revolved around this axis. So basically I'm drawing a sphere in order to cut through this core and basically cut the centers off. So if I use this surface that I just created and fraction the solid with it, I'm going to have 3 parts, the 2 centers and the core, and I'm going to keep them all. I've made a slight mistake. I clicked on remove the cut bodies, so I'm going to keep them. And this is what's left, 3 separated parts. Now, this part and this part are going to be screwed into the core, so they're going to be identical, which means I can remove one of the 2. Now for the second one, I want to basically make a screw hole. So I'm going to make a plane parallel to this and tangent to this face. So insert plane, tangent to this face, and we've got our plane. Now I'm going to cut a screw hole, so I'm going to do this for M3 screws, which means the screw head is about 7 millimeters. Actually, no, I'm going to use M2 screws. It seems more logical considering this puzzle is only 20 millimeters high. So M2 screws have a screw head of about 5 millimeters maximum. So I'm gonna cut 2 millimeters of matter down into the puzzle. So that's enough space for the screw head. Now since it's M2, that means the fillets, oh sorry, not the fillet, the thread is 2 millimeters in diameter, so I'm gonna leave some room for it. I'm gonna do 2.5 on the diameter, and I'm gonna cut all the way to the next surface, which is the next surface of the center. Now if I click through that hole, obviously I'm gonna select the core. Now that that's done, I'm gonna create one last hole, and it's gonna be it's going to be less than 2 since the thread of the screw is 2 millimeters, and I'm going to put 1.7 and cut all the way through the core down by about 10 millimeters or something. Let's say less, 8 millimeters. This is all, well, you know what, I can just go straight through. Let's just choose 20. I'm going straight through the core. That way I've got this center that can be screwed in the core. On the other side, there's also the hole for the core. So now I'm gonna hollow the core, 0.8 millimeters as well, just like last time. And I'm gonna isolate that center, and get it ready for 3D printing. So I'm gonna put some fillets on that, as always. All right, round out the edges everywhere. 2 millimeters here, here, and there. Perfect. And final fillet just for the aesthetic aspect. It's not going to change anything, but I can put fillets here. And now I've got my center. I just need to hollow it out as well. That's just a reflex I have. And plus, if it's filled and not hollowed out, the part can also retract after 3D printing because of heat. I don't know how you call it in English. Basically the part dilates itself. And so yeah, so this is the final part. Then again, I had a problem with the shell, with the ending of the center, but I don't think that will be a big problem because well, simply put, the center is so small that there's not going to be any dilation of the part after 3D printing, so it should be fine. Let's just leave it like that, it doesn't really matter. So here I've got all my unique parts, the corner, center, the pentagonal sort of center you screw in, and I've got this rotational center. And if you want to see what the puzzle is going to look like at the end, I'm going to show you this just real quick. Well, normally it should look like this. Okay, so that's quite reasonable as an appearance, like for a floppy Kilominx. I think that's okay. So I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna go with this, and I'm just gonna get it printed. So yeah, these are the unique pieces. Now all that's left to do is to save them. You know what? I'm gonna show you everything. That way, you know how I do stuff. Although this time it might not be necessary. This is a relatively small puzzle. I think I can stack it myself. Usually I use a part stacker. It's like some sort of software that stacks the parts when there are many of them. Right now I don't feel like I need it at all, so I'm not going to use it. Let's just see what I'm going to do. Okay, so I am going to move that center away from this corner. So on the x-axis, like 2 millimeters, and on the y-axis, maybe 1. Just moving it around. Now I'm going to pull the corner back, let's say, 1 millimeter on the x-axis, 1 millimeter on the y-axis. Now I need to make sure that this center doesn't touch my part. So, yeah, this is more of a challenge than I expected, but it's gonna be fine. I'm just gonna move this even more. You know what? I don't know if I should stack this or not. I'm gonna stack it easier. Like I'm gonna make it more optimized when it comes to space. I'm gonna just copy this part. So on the z-axis is gonna be 45 divided by 2 plus 1 millimeter. So that the parts don't touch. I'm gonna copy it, paste it 5 times. Now I've got my 5 Kilominx edges. Now I'm going to take that sort of smaller edge piece here, and I'm going to copy it. Actually, I'm going to rotate it so that it doesn't take too much space. Okay, I'm here. Now, as you can see, on a 3D printer, they calculate the space it takes on the X, Y, and Z axis. So I want it to be as small as possible on the X and Y axis, which is why I'm going to move this part here, minus 18 millimeters, and on the Y axis, minus 2 or something. Now, you'll see that it touches, but that doesn't really matter because I'm going to change something. I'm going to rotate it now. Rotate it. I made a small mistake. I didn't want to copy it, I just wanted to move it. And now I'm going to rotate it so that it doesn't touch the other parts. So that's on the Z axis. I want to do 90 degrees or something. That should do the trick. And as you can see, it's not touching. Perfect. So now that that's done, although I do want to move it slightly, maybe minus 1.5. Okay, so here it's slightly further from the parts. Yep. Okay. What did I do? Whoops. Yeah, that's fine. Let's see how much space I have between the parts. It's about equivalent. Yeah, I have about 1 millimeter here, so it's perfect. Sorry, I got confused with myself there for a second. Okay, so now I'm going to copy this 5 times. On the Z-axis, move it like 20 millimeters. Do that 5 times. Okay, so now I've got this part repeated 5 times. All I need are the 2 last parts, and I need to stack them as well. So this is going to take a few moments. Again, it's not as easy as I would want it to be, but that is something I have to do every time. So first I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees, and then I'm going to move it along the X-axis, let's say negative 15 millimeters, negative 5, negative 1.5, sorry. Why doesn't it want to work? Okay, so now this is where it would be, so I think that's quite reasonable. So I'm going to move it here. Now I'm going to rotate it along the Z-axis, let's say 10 degrees, 15, okay, 15 should do it. So now it's not touching the center. I can even get it closer, slightly closer, to gain some space. So perfect. Now all I need to do is make sure it doesn't touch any of those centers that I put here. So I'm going to move it up until it doesn't touch anything. So 18 should do it. Perfect. So now it's not touching. And I'm going to move it up 20 so that it's, well, copy, not move, copy. Copy it 20 millimeters up so it doesn't touch either. And as you can see, all the parts are stacked except the core, and the 2 centers are in place. By the way, I made a 3rd center. It is not necessary, so I'm going to remove it. Now I just need to stack the core. That's the final thing. And instead of just taking time to stack it, I'm just going to move it all the way up here and add it over that corner piece that I had. So that should do the trick. And we are done with the stacking. Okay, granted it's not optimal, but it's quite well stacked. Come to think of it, it's actually better than what I would have had using the software. So now I'm going to save my file and save it as an STL file. So that's the assembly, that's the full Floppy Kilominx assembly. Now that I've done this, I'm done with SolidWorks. Well, no, I'm not actually done. There is one more thing I need to do. Remember how I showed you that I showed you the assembled puzzle, what it would look like. Well, actually, I need to make a template for the stickers. Now, you can always skip through that part of the video if you're not interested, but I'm just going to make that template. Actually, since all parts are identical, I didn't really need to do that. I'm just going to make a sketch and convert the entities. That means convert this face, make it pointy. Alright, make those. Oh, I see. And add a radius here. It's not going to be 10 millimeters, maybe 3. But basically, I'm rounding off the corner, the sticker. That's all I'm doing. I'm rounding off the sticker to 4 millimeters. Actually, I made a small mistake. My bad. Instead of converting the entities on the face, I want to move them. So that's because I need some space between the edge and the sticker itself. So I'm going to move them closer to the center. As you can see, there's like 0.3 millimeters between the edge and this. This is what I usually choose, 0.3. And I'm going to move those parts and fuse them together, those two points, dots, two lines, and now I'm going to add the radius, 3.5 millimeters, in order to get close to that section here. Alright, so this is what it's going to look like. This is the appearance of the sticker, and I'm going to add 3 fillets here, make them 2 millimeters. So this is what the sticker will look like. Now that I've done this, I need to do this face as well. So I'm creating a sketch, moving the entities, inverting the direction. Now here I want the sticker to look normal, so I'm instead of using these 3 lines that are not exactly perfectly straight, I'm just going to link the two corners, the 2 dots here, the 2 points, together with a line. So as you can see, it's 19.9 millimeters, and this one is 19.91, so the sticker is going to be almost perfectly square. Now that I've done that, I can remove all the parts, all of them, and I am going to extrude my stickers. So 2 millimeters here, and just something I need to check. I didn't round off the corners here, so I'm going to do that too. 2 millimeter rounding is fine on that puzzle. I think it looks good. So the stickers are going to look like that. Now that I've done this, I'm going to extrude the second sticker, and now I'm going to make it move. Sorry, I'm going to move it along. I'm going to pivot it along that line here, so that you guys can see it on the same plane as this sticker. So that means if I'm perpendicular to that sticker, I can see that one. That is what I want. So now that I've done this, I'm going to copy that sticker and put it here. So as you can see, this is going to be the side. Sorry about that. Copy, not move. This is what the side of the floppy Kilominx is going to look like. So that's perfect. And along this axis here that I created at the beginning, I'm going to rotate the other sticker, and I'm going to get the sticker template for the floppy Kilominx. And just to make it look slightly better, I'm going to move this about 3 millimeters to the right, so that it's about properly aligned with this part. And I'm going to move him away so that the plotter from Oliver's stickers will have less difficulty cutting this template. Alright, so now I'm going to create a 2D drawing out of this view here, and I'm going to use that and just add a dimension so that Oliver can scale it properly using his plotter and his software. And now that that's done, I just need to save it and save it as a DXF file. So that's it. That's saved, and now I can just leave without saving. I don't really care. So I saved the floppy Kilominx file anyway, so I don't really care about the template since it's now already done. Now in my design file, somewhere in here, I've got the floppy Kilominx, and so I've got the DXF file, which is the floppy Kilominx itself, and the STL file. And now I'm going to use my magic software to add a center box around that file, because most 3D printing companies, they want a center box. So I'm going to create a scene with that printer here, import my part, which is, again, somewhere in there, right here. And here I've imported the STL file. I just need to add a center box around it. And I'm gonna call it, now believe it or not, this name is gonna be very unusual. Floppy Kilominx. Very, very sophisticated name, I know. I had to think about it for hours. Alright, so Floppy Kilominx. So here's the center box around it. Now I've got two parts, the center box and the other part. And I'm gonna fuse them, merge the parts. That way it's only one part that I can save as Floppy Kilominx with center box. Alright, and now that that's done, all I need to do is send this to Oliver, send this to my 3D printing company, and I will show you the puzzle right now, except as I'm filming this, it's probably going to arrive in 3 weeks, and so I just need to wait. So I just received the package. It was about 2.5 weeks between the design phase and the opening of the package, so let's see what's in there. Now, the thing is I have another puzzle in there. I'm not going to show it. There's only one person in the world who knows about it, and it is in that package, so let me just see, there's nothing else. Alright, so you can't see anything from the other one, so it doesn't matter. All I can say is that it's something big I'm working on, and hopefully it's gonna work. And I'm not sure it is because it's already version 3, so it's the first time in about 5 years that I have to make another version of something, especially 3 times. So we'll see how it goes. Alright, let's open this like that. Okay, I don't know why, but they put another center box around my center box, which makes absolutely no sense. Anyways, let's open this. That's not a big package. Alright, so we've got the core, very, very small core. It's supposed to use M2 screws. There's only 2 of them, so that's going to be easy. The centers are actually going to be just stuck in between two, the side face centers are just going to be stuck between 2 pentagonal centers. I don't know if you can see this. Let me see if I can zoom in on that. Yeah, they're just going to be stuck like that between 2 pentagonal centers. So all I need for the assembly are these 5 corners, the 5 centers, side centers, and the 2 top and bottom centers, so the pentagonal centers, as well as the core. And I need also 2 screws, except I've just noticed that they're a bit too long. Those are the only ones that I have. And as you can see, they're more than twice this, well, they're more than half the size of the core. So if I put one in one center and just stick it like this next to the core, you can see that it would be more than half. So the 2 screws would basically bump into each other. So I'm just going to shorten them on the belts. So I've shortened the screws, as you can see. It took me about 2 minutes per screw, so that's the advantage of having a belt sander. So now I'm going to assemble the core and the centers, the pentagonal centers. So also something I didn't show you is that I enlarged the holes of the core by doing this, basically, by rubbing it against a cutter blade. And that's because the holes were too small due to the 3D printing tolerances, which are quite large. So let's assemble those centers. I just want to check something. I think there's a hole I cut maybe too big. No, that one's okay. Yeah, that one seems okay. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to assemble those centers just like you would assemble a regular cube. Oh, so that one's, okay, so that one did have an issue. I did cut it too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put super glue inside the hole, not to make it stay in place or anything, but to add matter to the plastic. It's just going to add a thin layer of cyanoacrylate, which is good. And it's probably going to hold better. Okay, so put it right in there, all the way in. I really need to push it in this time. Hopefully it's gonna work. Alright, and I'm gonna use the other one for tensioning because this one isn't damaged. That was just my fault. Alright, so now this is in place. can't really be pulled out, so that's fine. Perfect. So let's assemble the beast. Well, maybe the tiny chicken or ferrets, because this is probably one of the smallest puzzles that I've ever made, so calling it a beast would be slightly overstating it. I really need to learn how to stay inside the frame of my camera. Alright, so let's carry on the assembly in the right place this time. Alright, so I've got this corner or edge that I'm going to put here. I'm going to put another center over it, but now I want to finish the assembly by adding one full layer at once. By one full layer, I mean a Kilominx layer, so basically this right here. And I'm just going to slide it in there, and then I'm going to adjust the tension on the screw that is visible right here. Let me see, did that go in? I'm not even sure that went in. I didn't hear a click or anything. Seems like it went in. Okay, but it really needs to be tensioned properly. Okay, now the issue is that when I try to turn this screw, the opposite screw turns in the other direction, which means I'm gonna need to take my other screwdriver, hold it steady, hold everything tightly, and screw the other side. Until I can't really screw it anymore. So after adjustment, when you leave it like down on a surface, on a flat surface, it barely moves at all, so it's well adjusted. The only problem is when you start moving it upwards, because here, as you can see, so that's what I showed in the design, it moves inwards, and therefore you have more leeway for looseness. So it's loose when you turn it, but when it's flat on a surface, it's not. So it's very peculiar. It does work, so that's nice. It's still functional, and that's going to be a nice addition to the regular Megaminx floppy cube I'm working on. But that's a mod I'm working on with those cheap, Chinese pentagonal floppy cubes. Hopefully that's gonna be a nice addition to my collection. I hope I managed to do that one well. And for this one, well, I'm satisfied in the sense that it's as good as it could get. So let's sticker that. Slight mistake on my part. I got the stickers, but I got so carried away that I already stickered the white face, and then I remembered that I wanted to film this. So here we go, let's sticker this, or at least the rest of this puzzle. So here we are, this is finally stickered and fully assembled and complete. Now, I did say I was going to make a V2, and I will, but the thing is it's such a small modification that it has no incidence on the functionality or the design, so I'm not going to print one for myself, but this is the one that you will get with Oliver. So anyways, if it doesn't work, which is completely impossible because, well, again, as I said, no incidence on the design, then I'll refund whoever bought one, so whatever. Anyways, so this is the final floppy Kilominx, and I really like it. It's really cool. I haven't tried scrambling it, obviously, because I just finished stickering it, so this is what I'm going to do right now, and we'll see if it's as hard as, well, or at least as easy as I think it is. So, let's see. Wow, this is like the most complete video I've ever done. There's like the design process, the assembly, the solve, there's absolutely everything. So first thing here, I've got a reversed corner. This is something that can't happen on a floppy cube, so that's a plus. That's a nice addition. And here we go. This is the situation that makes it harder. So there's everything that's solved except this one corner that's switched. So instead of trying to solve this one corner, I'm gonna solve everything according to that one corner. So that should work. And yeah, this is actually a very simple method to get a corner switch. Instead of switching the corner, you just switch everything else, and it's quite fast. So let me show you that again. So you've got that one switched, so you're gonna bring this part here, and then just do a 3 cycle of the last 3 parts, and it's solved. So this is the floppy Kilominx. I hope you guys liked it. Yeah, please let me know if you like this format of videos, because I really put everything from designing a puzzle to assembling it to solving it, and well, really everything. So if you like this, please let me know and I'll try to make more videos like this one. And anyways, I'm really glad I started this series because I really like working with your ideas and trying to bring your ideas to life. So feel free to give me more ideas in the comments below, and yeah, I'll see you next time.